Hello everyone and welcome to IntroWorldCiv106. As you all know, this is a late start class. But if you have not had late start classes before, there's just something immediately I want us to be aware of. This is sort of like a cram course where we have to go over the same amount of material that would have been covered had you started earlier, along with at the beginning of this semester. So I want to prepare all of you to get your minds geared up for doing essentially double the workload each week. Now, this week, our first week, the way I set it up is that this will feel like just a normal work week. So I didn't break it up into different subjects. We're going to just cover prehistory and the emergence of humans from a scientific point of view. And then you will see that we double up later on. I also, I will end up going over this again with you, which I do several times. I point out that we're starting, we're taking a World Civ class that focuses on religion, but we start from a scientific point of view that is contradictory to many people's religious points of view. What I need you to just be aware of as you go into this class is that you will see that I'm not requiring anybody to believe anything. Actually, I feel this way about all my history classes. I feel this way about all of academia and knowledge. I'm exposing you to mainstream views about things dealing with history, and I happen to be focusing mainly on the history of religion. And we have to start somewhere, and so I start with the secular approach to the beginnings of human civilization. And that means that I deal with archaeology and physical anthropology, and that deals with the topic of evolution. Now, I don't reveal to you my personal beliefs about many of the things that we cover. But again, what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm giving you a consensus view of a particular field to understand and know about. So what I want to remind all of you out there, if you are a person who has a very strong set of beliefs about a religious worldview, and you get exposed to anything in this class that contradicts that, you're not being asked to buy in to the information. You're being told, you're being exposed to it, and you're explaining back how other people and civilizations, institutions conceive of the world and the cosmos. Do you understand what I'm saying? If there's any question on that, get back to me. So, again, going back to what this class is about, I do focus on world religion, and I focus on it for a reason that there's many different topics that we can focus on, and we cover way, I think, too many civilizations, to be honest. It's difficult when, especially in our society, in our culture, we just don't have a strong background in that, even coming out of public schools. I mean, look, I was a substitute teacher for many years, and I remember I had a long-term position as a history instructor. Several times it's happened. And there was a Western Civ part and a world history part to one of the classes I had, and the U.S. But the world civilization class was basically a Western Civ class. That's the content that was given, wasn't truly world civilization. And I found that frustrating. Now, when we could talk about comparing and contrasting agriculture and go over military regimes, or we can compare all these things. But the reason why I picked religion is because of the very fact that most of you have a strong opinion about a religion one way or the other. For people who are atheists, they have strong opinion about religion. For people who are agnostic, they put some thought into it. If you are a firm believer in a particular belief system, then you have an understanding of the importance or the sensitivity and the reality of living in the context of a religious system. What I'm wanting all of you to do, no matter where you fit into the spectrum, is to be able to look at a wide range of civilizations and maybe kind of see something about the way they conceptualized the world. Now, one of the things that will get lost, and I want to try to remind us from time to time, is that there is the ideals of civilization and then the actual practice. So one of the things that I always talk about is that if you study Buddhism and you learn that there's Mahayana and Theravada, okay, right now we're not going to worry about that, but we'll learn about that later. But you learn about Southeast Asia and you will learn about Theravada Buddhism and what people believe and think in Southeast Asian countries that follow this type of Buddhism. And then you go to Thailand and Cambodia, for example, like I did, and you see something happen very different. So, for example, even when I was in Thailand, I had a friend give me a book on Buddhism talking about no harmed animals. And then I go to the Buddhist temple and we're served pork soup by the nuns. Not kidding. And this is normal all throughout Thailand. Even though Buddhism is officially vegetarian and seems to promote that idea, I was hard-pressed to find a temple in Thailand that wasn't serving meat or seafood or something. And my whole point of bringing this up is, again, we have to be careful that when we study civilizations and the texts that we find and the slabs of stone that tell us things about them, that this might have been the clergy or some of the people's these might be the more of the ideals than the actual practices. We don't know how they actually would do these things and translate them into practice. So I'll give you another example. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, as Christians call it, or the Torah, strictly is the way that Jews would refer to it, there's a passage that says, don't boil a baby goat in its mother's milk. Don't boil a baby goat in its mother's milk. Very strange passage. The Talmud, which we'll learn about, the rabbis end up deciding that this means don't mix meat and dairy products together. And that then informs the idea of kosher food, so that a religious Jewish person doesn't have a cheeseburger, for example. But you wouldn't know that if you just had the Bible. If you just had the Bible, you wouldn't know how Jews for the last several hundred years interpreted this text and how that actually affected the way that they even eat their food. You just wouldn't know. And so sometimes we're limited with our sources on being really precise, but we try our best. We get exposed to the information, and you should find it very interesting, okay? Now, so that's what we're going to be doing in this class. Looking at the workload, you'll see that we have assignments. I don't put due dates up. What I do, though, is I have the course objective link for every module on each start of each week. And you'll have some assignments that are due on Thursdays and some that are due on Sundays. And it's always good to look and see which ones are due those days. So look at due days on my course objectives link and not due dates. Okay, and you'll find that this is very easy because every week it's going to be work between Thursdays and Sundays only. I never assign you to do work due on a Friday or Tuesday, for example. Okay, and then I'm going to post in the next day or two some more information that will be helpful for you in this class, and then I will open up the next the first week's module on Sunday, sometime Sunday. Okay. Please feel free to contact me if you need to have questions or anything. I do work another job, and I work a lot. I'm basically working 7 days a week. I know most of you understand this. This is American life. So whether if you're the professor or the student, we're busy people. I will do my best to get back a hold of you as soon as possible. I always encourage texting if you want a quicker response. I normally wouldn't encourage texting with a student to the professor, but in this online setting and with how busy we are, feel free to do that. Just not too early and not too late. I have some hours listed, and I can't remember what I did, but you get the picture. So, having said that, I'm excited to start this class with all of you, and we will be in touch and very actively engaged with each other and in this exciting class very soon.